Hey, Brianna, it wasn't, can you hear me, Brianna? Okay, everybody out there in Zoom land, please say hello in the chat. And I'm going to take roll. Oh, I think I figured out the sound for the first time. A month into school. Bria. Let's see if she's here. Yep. Drew, are you around, Mr. Drew? Jordan. Shamira. Yet. Dayton. Shamira is there. Yeah. Anya, are you here? Nope. Ronnie. Nellie. Is not here yet. Bronson is here. Lainey is here. Samantha. Samantha, I don't know why you don't look like a Samantha to me. I like your personal narrative. I've graded it. Tiffany. Alexis. Naya. So today is Naya's writing prompt. So let me share that with everybody. It's a good one, I think. So get started on that. It's the 9th one. Do you think fast food is the cause for obesity? Why or why not? Ebony, you're here. All right. Anya, no. What is your name? Naya. Today is your day. Thank you very much for sending me the writing prompt. So here you go. Sorry, you guys that I can't, there you go. Just in the nick of time, Zaire, gotcha. And still no Ronnie, still no Nelly. Okay.
So this says that, so if we download an environment and it says that we can set up one, and we can, and it says that we can set up monetization, we can put, so does that mean we can put ads or we can put ads?
Yeah, if you make a good podcast, you can monetize it. I'm not asking you to do that, but that is possible. Yeah, you don't have to, but if you want to see if anybody listens to it and puts ads on it, you could do that. All right, so I think for the first time, have understood what needs to happen for the people in Zoom. I'm sure it's very frustrating for you guys out there in Zoom on Wednesdays, or you guys here on Fridays, to not be able to have yourselves be heard by me. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask somebody to unmute themselves. How about Mia? Could you unmute yourself, and could everybody put themselves on camera, please? Okay, Mia, can you say something for me? Just
Yes.
say.
Can you hear? Can you see me?
Say it again.
Can you see me? Because I can't see myself.
Let's see if I can change the view of that. I think I'm getting, let's see.
I just want to make sure my camera's not broken.
It's totally on. I thought I could make you visible. Let me see if I can change the view. It's called speaker view, I think. No, I don't see speaker view. Okay, so since we can hear you guys out there, let's have, I'm not gonna ask Mia, let's have somebody we don't hear from a lot, like Dayton. Dayton, could you turn your camera on and read what you wrote?
I didn't really. I was still writing.
Are you still writing? Oh, that's
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Can you just read what you have up to now?
I think fast food is the cause for it because, like, some of the food I don't really eat fast food like that. I eat it sometimes, but I think it's just too much fat in the food, and it's not better than like home cooked meals or like other food you purchase at the store, regular stores.
So you're saying that you do think that fast food contributes to obesity, right? That's
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Does anybody have a different take on it? So Mia's raising her hand, and Zaire and Bronson. So we'll go Mia, Zaire, Bronson.
All right, I said that I cannot say that fast food is the cause for obesity, but I can say that fast food does play a big role in the American obesity rate. We choose what food we fuel our bodies with. There are many health issues that can cause a person to be obese. Obesity can be caused by more than just fast food. So it plays a role, but it's not like the main cause of obesity.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of proof of that because I've lived in different countries, and in France they don't have the extreme obesity that America has, and there are plenty of fast food restaurants. So it plays a role, but we don't know exactly what role, or maybe it's just in the United States. Not to say I disagree or that Dayton said anything that's inaccurate, but I don't know if fast food is why America has an obesity epidemic. Okay, so then I said Zaire. Can you say what you wrote?
I kind of agree with you. I said that I think fast food contributes to obesity, but it's not necessarily the cause because someone can have like a genetic condition or like an eating disorder that like that's something that you can't really, you can't like, it's something in you like hard to explain. But basically, you can't put it all in fast food.
It is easy to explain if you look at me. Oh, go ahead.
There were obese people before fast food like came out. Like sometimes it's just like your body structure, you can't help it.
So true. If you saw my great-grandparents before there was an obesity epidemic in the United States, these people were big. I come from big people, and I don't eat fast food. I don't, for the reasons that Dayton said, like it's not, I'd much rather cook at home. However, I do understand that people feel tired at the end of the day and that they just want to make it fast and easy. So, or it's a little treat, a fat bomb is yummy. A McMuffin is delicious in a fattening kind of way. Bronson, what do you got?
Well, I sort of agree with Mia, and I sort of agree with Zaire, but it's not really the cause because some fast food items can be healthy for you depending on what the item is, even though some scientists can't believe that that's true. believe that food causes obesity because it has a bunch of fats and health issues that because it has a lot of fats in it and a lot of health issues linked to it, then home cooked meals of that is unlimited and then home cooked meals, but it wouldn't affect anybody, but it wouldn't affect anybody. But it wouldn't affect anybody if he or she has an eating disorder.
Did you guys hear that one? In Zoom land, could you hear what Bronson said? Both Zaire and Bronson brought up the fact that people with eating disorders, you know, they have an eating disorder. So there is something called like binge eating where you can't stop yourself. Naya, what do you think since it was your question?
I believe that food is one of the causes. It can also be the environment surrounding yourself around and the state of mind. If you don't have the right state of mind, then you will tend to eat more. You will tend to eat less.
Yeah, like there's something about your mental health state and what you do. Some people, they're gonna, you know, feel like eating a bunch of food from the McDonald's is gonna make them feel better, and it might make them feel better for a minute. But I don't think the root cause of Americans being fat is because of fast food. I think there's a whole bunch of reasons why Americans are fat. We drive everywhere. Did anybody drive here today? So no, you guys walked. That's great. Yeah, well, that is a common phenomenon in the United States that there's not walkable cities. And so, however, I'm lucky, I live in a very walkable city. That's a contributing factor that we don't get enough exercise. Another contributing factor is that literally the sugar lobby, there's something called Big Sugar. They push sugar, corn syrup to be in foods, that's fattening. So obesity is super complicated. If it were easy, we'd have a solution. All right, so does anybody else have anything they want to say about fast food and obesity? All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the quiz. So I asked you guys to listen to a podcast, and the podcast was part of this thing called the 1619 Project. This is a very long podcast, and I'm going to give you about 15 minutes to answer the questions, which is more than enough time. The only, so let me make this visible to everybody. I'm going to pass it out to you guys. So if you listen to it, it should not be too challenging. Just answer the questions.
You want us to write it down? Yeah.
Or if you feel like you have a computer in front of you, do whichever one you prefer. If you have a computer, use the computer. If you want to do it on paper, do it on paper. I just need to open up the quiz and make it visible, which is going to happen in 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to share that screen with everybody. So the quiz, this should not come as any surprise. It's right here, quiz 2. So just answer those questions. It's going to cut you off in about 10 minutes. It shouldn't take 10 minutes. Yeah, and if you answer the questions at home, I don't need your name because you'll be uploading it. Where's the quiz? It's right here under the podcast interview transcription where it says quiz 2.
Do you want to write it, please?
Where do we find it?
Oh, you found the answer because you listened to the podcast, or
So-
did not?
I did I looked at the transcript. So like when you said your sound effects, I didn't like actually listen to it.
Miss Robin.
Hold on 1 second. Just explain that in your answer. Yes.
I don't have the
The
quiz.
quiz isn't showing up.
Hold on. 2 people are talking at once. Let me say Mia first. Just 'cause I can see her.
I don't have the quiz on my Moodle, and whoever else was talking, she doesn't have it either.
So you need to refresh go to English 101, because I just opened it, and so refresh it, and then go down to the podcast, and it should be right there. Quiz number 2.
No, ma'am. I mean, I'm just gonna exit out of my Moodle, but I still don't see it.
Try it again, like get out of your browser, log back in. I'm sorry that I didn't know it was, by me making it invisible, it would remain invisible to you. But it's definitely there, and I'll give you more time if you can't get to it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we click that, we just listen to a podcast, we don't have to. We podcast.
Yeah, you can put, you can listen to the podcast.
Honesty is the best answer usually. Mia, is it working now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wait, so there's no right or wrong answer.
Yes, there are right or wrong answers. Your answers can be short and sweet. I'll write a essay on it.
I don't know.
So we can just put allow sharing and
Oh, we're gonna go over them after we are. Okay, a couple more minutes. So try to wrap it up out there. Ooh, pretty great, you know. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and upload now because I'm going to make the quiz unavailable in about a minute. So if you haven't answered yet and uploaded, do it now. All right, I'm going to. It is under the profile podcast, and it's under quiz 1, there's quiz 2. Did you find it? Evan, you just email it to me because I want to move on. So you guys out there, if you didn't upload it yet, email it to me. And because I'm going to turn it off now so you can't upload anymore because we're moving on to a new thing. Okay, so what I want to ask everyone is, do you get the quick mail messages that I sent? So this is an example. In my class after you, some of the students weren't getting the messages I sent. So usually when I assign something and something is due, I'll send you a reminder. And so I did send this out on Wednesday. Did anyone not get that? Yeah, sometimes the quick mail doesn't work. So can you pull up your email and I can have a quick look just to make sure? And then we're gonna look at spam and see if why. This is for the podcast. Yeah, just be under my name. Yeah, I believe that some people don't get them, I truly do. But, so yeah, this is under my name. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so usually when I assign something and there's a due date, I try to also send it to you. So I did have the expectation that you would listen to this. I also said it in class. So there's one person who truly wasn't in class. That would be Brianna. If you didn't get this, I'll talk to you about it after class. She wasn't in class, and I also upload every class to YouTube, but Wednesday's class didn't work. So I don't know why it didn't upload. So anyway, let's go over the answers for the quiz. So let's see, let's go back to over here. And so you should be able to see this.
So the sound effects, see if anybody in class got it. Yeah, there was a theme song. There was so far nobody's getting it. There was snapping and clapping, and there was soft music. So, that was the first answer. That there was music, there was like this kind of sound and clapping.
Were there like some drum noises?
So it was kind of rhythmic and kind of drum-like, but it was actually snapping. So interesting that nobody got that. I'll see if anybody who uploaded it did. Number 2, are the people being profiled alive? So let's see over here. Looks like everybody got that, but no, the people who are being profiled are all deceased. So in your case, for this class, you cannot do a dead person. You have to do an alive person. Okay, so then there's the next question, and this is also to help you understand what narration is versus the person who's being profiled. So how many narrators are there? There's about 2. Okay, there are 2 narrators. There's the woman who talks about her uncle.
It's about 2 or 3.
So if you're in the realm of 2 or 3 and not mixing it up with, or you could even say there's one main narrator. Yeah. Right, so if you're in the department of 1, 2, or 3, I will count it, but let's be clear about who's narrating versus who's being profiled. So there's the main woman who tells the story, and she's the podcast narrator of the whole, I think there's 6 different 1619 podcasts. She's the narrator. She tells the story about her uncle. Then there's a historian who knows a whole lot about African Americans and healthcare and the doctors. So she explains who the 2 doctors are that are being profiled. So let's see the next question. So what are the larger themes? So let's see what we got. Yes, how American healthcare system fails its people. That is the larger theme of this. So the point of the podcast is to say, especially African Americans have been let down, have been failed by the American healthcare system, and it goes way back. And then,
so if we can say, this is good,
then you
I'm not sure, and I can't remember.
then you don't get credit for participation. All right. And finally, who are the people being profiled? So there's 3 deceased people being profiled. Somebody in the class got their names. There is a doctor who's really remarkable. Her name was Rebecca, and she was born in Pennsylvania when there was still slavery in the South. Pennsylvania is a state that never had slavery. She became a doctor, so that's really remarkable that over 100 years ago that this woman became a doctor. Then there is the uncle. So actually we should start with the uncle. Uncle Eddie is the first person who's profiled. And who is Uncle Eddie? Everybody said it at once and I didn't hear. Who is he? The narrator's uncle. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to hear, but Nicole's uncle. Yes, that's right. So he's profiled, and it's a beautiful little short profile. It's about 6 minutes, right? Did you get emotional listening to what happened? Yeah, it's amazing. It is an amazing 6 minutes because he's her favorite uncle. Seems like she was his favorite niece. They had this really tight relationship. And then because he loses his job because he's sick, what happens? He doesn't have health insurance. When you don't have health insurance, can you go to the doctor? No. So when he can finally go to the doctor, Why is he finally allowed to go to the doctor to discover that he has cancer that's metastasized throughout his body? Did anybody?
He went to the free clinic, and then like he had a pop, and he told him to go to the rib tumor, and that's when he had cancer, but it was too late.
It was too late because, and he starts to get care because you get free medical care when you are unemployed and totally destitute. So then finally, when he gets the good medical care, it is too late. He has already gotten the cancer diagnosis. So that is one profile. Then there was the doctor who I was talking about. The next one is the doctor. And the last one is a third doctor who, unlike white doctors, he said, we need to have health care that covers everybody. Now, that was a very short profile of the last guy. The best profile is the one of the uncle, right? That's the one where you know what he wears, you know what he's like, you understand the way he talks. And so even though it's a very large and interesting podcast, I don't want you to do something that's addressing the bigger issues like American healthcare. I want you to just do a person like Uncle Eddie. Does that make sense? Okay, and so now, somebody asked me, I don't quite remember who it was, whether they could have their friend interview their father and have that be a part. That was you, Samantha? Yeah, so you can do that. You just have to make it clear through your narration that who's doing the talking and who's doing the asking, because we're gonna listen to this. And so it might get a little confusing, but it's totally doable because obviously this person had many different voices being in that profile. Okay, so you guys, Bronson, do not worry about these little quizzes. You have so many participation opportunities in the semester. If you don't do well on the quizzes, it's like 0.0%. It's not a lot, but I do want you to tune in and listen to things like the podcast. And we're gonna listen to some more podcasts. And so I would advise everybody to write this down, and I will remind you and send it out. So let me make it visible to the whole class.
Dr. White, I have a question after.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so for question number 2, I got it right, but I was confused because there were the 3 older people who they had just got freed from slavery, like you remember those people? So were those people technically being profiled? Because I thought that the people being profiled was like the president talking, the Rebecca, the nurse. So I didn't understand exactly who the 3 people.
Because everybody's like not doing great on that one. How many narrators? I might just take it out. But like I said, how many did you put? If you put between 1 and 3, you're good.
I put 2 narrators.
That's fine. You're good. So there were 3 people being profiled, but there are technically 2 narrators, but I can see why everybody's confused about it. So don't worry, if you put 1, 2, or 3, you're good to go. And I'll look at everybody's answers, and if I'm like, oh, I get what they're doing, then I will give you credit. Yes. No. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to assign another podcast that I worked on. So this is actually 2 profiles. The one that I want to sort of emphasize is this man named Ronald Lewis because I knew him. So, but there are 2 profiles, and it is about New Orleans. So this is not the person that I knew. The person I knew is not in the picture, but as you can see, even though I keep saying I've never made a podcast, so this was about 10 years ago, and I was the research assistant for this little podcast. So I want you guys to listen to this, and I'll ask you similar questions on Monday. There may be or there may not be a quiz on it, and I will send it out to remind you. Okay, so Monday, please listen to this podcast. Okay, now we're gonna look a little bit in the book. So let me pull that up because we never talked about your quiz from last week. And I really don't want you to worry about the quizzes. I want you to worry about, listening to podcasts and doing the readings. So if you have not listened to that podcast, now is your opportunity to do that. If you have not done the reading, now is your opportunity to do that. So the reading that I assigned was coincidentally September 11th, and today is September 11th. And so it's a profile that's written by a professional person. And so far you've only had examples of profiles by professionals. I'm going to show you a student one next week. So I once assigned the podcast and a couple of students did it, but they're not great. I have a feeling you're going to do a better job. Okay, so this was about this fighter pilot, and some of you thought it was interesting, and some of you were like, whatever. And then I asked about the key features of the profile. So let's look at those quickly. When we talk about the key features, you need an interesting subject. So I said you can just grab somebody because it's the first time I've assigned it. However, hopefully the person is somewhat interesting. In the future, I will make that, like, as I get better at teaching the profile, I'll make it more the emphasis. You must have somebody who is worthy of a profile, not your little sister. So I'll tell you, in the past, when it's just written, the written profile, people do just grab, like, I'm gonna do it on my sorority sister because she loves me and I loves her. And guess what? That doesn't give great results, because just because you're in a sorority together does not make your sorority sister an interesting person. You need to have any necessary background, but be careful. You don't want the whole life story. Do we know where Uncle Eddie was born? Do you know what he looked like when he was 3 years old? Do you know whether he graduated from high school? Do you know if he went to college? Do you know all the jobs? No. So you're not giving a life story, but we do know that Uncle Eddie was the narrator's favorite uncle, that he was a nice dresser, and that he cared about the narrator, and that he died at a fairly young age. So necessary background. You need an interesting angle. So a good profile captures its subject from a particular angle. So the angle on Uncle Eddie is not, this is my favorite uncle, it's this is a man who died too early, because the bigger question is, why is healthcare specifically a mess in the United States? You guys know that, right? That healthcare is not good here. And how can I say this? What is the proof right now? Yeah, we're the worst in the country. I mean, in the world. This is amazing. We are the worst in the world. We have more deaths than any other country. So we have neighbors to the north, Canada. It's going down, and they did not have major hundreds of thousands of deaths. We have neighbors to the south, Mexico. Mexico's doing better than us, and it's not a rich country. So yeah, we have bad healthcare. So the big picture is we have bad healthcare. Do you know who's dying disproportionately in the United States from this disease?
Elders, African-Americans.
Old people, African Americans, and Latinos. And so, just look it up. It's disproportionately. So societies that don't treat old people well, you gotta wonder, like, what is going on in our country? Societies that don't treat minorities well, oh my goodness, Mia, I saw him, he's handsome. Okay, so the angle for Nicole, the narrator, is healthcare specifically for African Americans is not good, but it's an interesting topic because the big picture is healthcare in America is not great. And this is why I've decided to bring this up. This was maybe 10 years ago that I worked on this. He died, not this guy, but the guy I know, so you'll hear him. He died of COVID. So he was 68 years old. So this is two profiles. Ronald Lewis was a lovely human being, and he died back in March, at the beginning of the pandemic. So What's the angle here when we listen to it? It's not about COVID, it's not about healthcare. You have to think about, why is this interesting? Why did this end up on the radio? What is the angle? So let's go back to the angle. You need to have a firsthand account. So that's why you're interviewing somebody, because that's the firsthand account. Their voice, their speaking is the firsthand account. So that's in there, and you need engaging details. So for whatever reason, what stuck with me and the profile of Uncle Eddie is that he dressed really well, and he went to the graduation and he had gaiters. Do you guys know what gaiters are? Gaiters are fancy little things that go over your shoes. And so like, that's a wild little detail that like this man was attentive to the way he dressed for the graduation of the narrator. It's a lovely detail. So those are the key features. So that's what you need in your profile. Now I'm waiving my rights to having truly interesting subjects because you're a college freshman, but you still need to have background and angle, firsthand account, and details. Then let's talk about, so at the very beginning of class, when we read the syllabus, we talk about understanding rhetorical situations, and this is going to come up again and again and again. What's the purpose? Why are you writing this profile? So the purpose of Nikole Hannah-Jones' profile is to show a man she loved who didn't get health care in a bigger failed healthcare scenario. There's a purpose there. What is the purpose of your profile? Who is the audience? So this one's easy. Your audience is the class. So you have to make this somehow relevant to the class. Do they know your topic? Do they know about do they know what is expected in a podcast? Well, they should, because they've been listening to them. Do you think they'll be interested? How can you get their interest? So I know that from teaching many years, I know that some people are not going to be interested in African-American healthcare issues or African-American workers, but I also know that some people are going to be interested in other podcasts that we're going to listen to later. So, you know, you have to get the interest. So there's another one we're going to listen to, and it's about a musician from Louisiana, from Lafourche Parish, and some people are going to like it. Other people will be like, I don't care. So you have to try to get the interest, but you also have to understand not everybody is going to be interested in the same thing. Stats. So the professional New York Times, Nikole Hannah-Jones podcast is critical, but we also are sympathetic. She lost her uncle. We are sympathetic to people who could not get health care. We are sympathetic to people who get enslaved and then they're on their own and they can't go anywhere. So she is critical of America, and she creates sympathy in her audience. So you want I would say, unless you're very experienced, you want to create a sympathetic character in your profile. Sarcasm is really hard, and sarcasm everyone knows what sarcasm is, but it's hard to define it. Does anybody have a off the top of your head definition of sarcasm?
Doing something with a different meaning in a certain like joking way, or like I was gonna say sarcastic, but you can't use the same.
Yeah, you can't use a word to define a word, which is great that you know that. Sarcasm is being sarcastic. Yes, but it's true. It's jokey. It's caricature. It's saying the opposite of what you mean. And so because later on, we can talk a little bit about how to incorporate sarcasm, but right now, like in the research paper, there might be some opportunities to be sarcastic. But I would say for the profile, you don't want to be too sarcastic. And you do want to have a more careful perspective so we understand the person. And then finally, the media and design. So your profile is, I want you to write it, but I'm really going to be doing the electronic listening. That is what I am going to give you a grade on. So I do want you to write it because it'll make your life easier. I did not write my profile about unemployed hospitality workers, and it took me forever, and then I'd have to write it anyway. I'd have to, because I poured myself, and then I was like, that sounds terrible, so let me write it out, and I'd write it out. It took forever. So even though it's fun to think, haha, I really don't have a paper that's gonna get graded, you kind of do. I'm gonna just see, did you do 3 to 4 pages, 5 pages of what you read into the recording, which becomes the podcast. So you should do the writing out of the profile. And I'll give you more specific directions on Monday. Yes, Bronson.
So while we do the podcast, we can copy back on the transcription. We can copy back on the transcription.
Yes, you should use your transcription to create the profile, to create the podcast. So you write down what the person says, you write your profile, you record your profile, and that becomes a podcast lady.
So, I know you said this before, and I don't remember. What did you want us to do by Wednesday?
Let's have a look. By Wednesday, I want you to have a written out profile and the recording. So let's look at that together. And the date. So I did push your dates back, and I also, before class, oops, I'm in the wrong section. Before class runs out, I need to remind you about Saturday. Okay, so let's see. By Wednesday, so by Monday, I want you to have recorded the person and transcribed about 3 pages. Or if you just can't do it, minimum 1 page. But I could show you transcriptions that you might enjoy the process of actually getting every word that the person says. So minimum 1 page, but it probably should be about 3 pages. So that is due, uploaded, and I'll tell you about this on Monday. Then you have the peer review, and I will also explain that in greater detail on Monday. So I'm expecting that it's going to be a struggle for some of you to actually have the podcast ready and listening to, but you should definitely have on Wednesday and Friday the sound recorded to play for your peers. Yes. Yes. So the transcription is the words that you say to, and I'll show you a transcription. Let me get out of here, and I'm going to show you a transcription. The transcription is just the language that you record. So let's have a look at what a transcription looks like. And this will also maybe, you have one ready to go?
So like your transcription is kind of like the questions that you're asking, like you're like recording your responses. And a profile is the profile is based on the beginning, like you're describing like your person's background and why you chose them for the podcast. Yeah, so kind of like how she brought up her uncle. That was her profile.
She couldn't get a transcription of her uncle.
Oh, yeah, he's dead.
He's dead. So,
So,
all right.
that was a profile of her uncle.
Yes, that was a profile of her uncle, but unlike you guys, he's dead. You're doing somebody who's alive. And so I'm going to show you some profiles. I think I have the profile of Freddie Sawyer, the guy who I just showed you a picture of.
So this, I'm trying to get back into my account because I have a Microsoft Office account with the Nichols.
So you know who can help you with that? If you go to the library and you go to the computer labs, they can get you to where you can find your documents if they're on the Nichols Drive. Is it a Microsoft Word doc? Yeah, I can only really, I can't help you with that because I barely understand it. So this is what a transcription looks like. Okay, so I wrote, this is why I get credit because I wrote down, look how many pages this is. So when I'm asking you to do 1 to 3 pages, it's not that much. This takes forever. What page am I on at this point? I mean, this is long, right? Oh, 21 pages of transcription. That's a lot of transcription. I am an experienced transcriber. I'm going to show you another transcription, and this is why I pronounce your names in funny ways. Because I'm a French professor as well as an English professor. And so sometimes when I see names, I'm like, it's Nia, because that's the French pronunciation, but in English, it's obviously Naya. So this is a transcription I did in French. And again, you see, it goes on and on and on and on. And so some of it's in English, most of it's in French. So I don't want you to do 26 pages. I want you to do between 1 and 3 and to get the important quotes. Okay? So does that clarify, Alexis, a little bit? And thank you, Zaire. It sounds like you sort of understood it. We are out of time, everyone. So I will see you on Moodle, Zoom. I meant Zoom on Monday. Please record your person and transcribe it for Monday. And I will also send out to you the email of which profile I'm asking to listen. Yes, Samantha. Oh gosh, Saturday, thank you. So don't go from Zoom. I'm gonna record, so we missed a week of hurricanes. I have to make up those classes. So I'm gonna record a Zoom session the same time. You can drop in, like if you still have questions, I'll be there and I'll be talking about the podcast and what you should be doing. Or you can watch it later on YouTube. So tomorrow at 9:35, Zoom if you want to, you don't have to, but you do have to go back and watch the YouTube video, which I'll send to you. And I have to do this twice. So this Saturday and next Saturday. Okay, did everybody get that out there in Zoom? All right, well, I'll send out those things. If you ever don't get my quick mail, please let me know. Is that Brianna right there? Brianna? Can
Yeah,
I hear you?
I have, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I have 2 questions. I'm just making sure. So with the transcript, you said we can do it from a phone call, right? Like we can call and record the conversation on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And then for the quiz, I just found the podcast that you were talking about. I didn't see it.
Okay, so Brianna, for the quiz, I'll figure it out because like you didn't get the
Yeah.
you weren't in class. And so let me just think about what I'll do in your case, okay? Like I might do something like you'll have a quiz when no one else does.
Okay, like on this podcast, I mean.
No, on the next one. Let's just move on from that one. You should listen to it, but let's go to the next one and I'll figure it out for you. Or I'll assign you something different because like you already have all the answers and what I was trying to get you to be thinking about from today's class. So it's kind of silly for you to just like,
Right.
yeah. So I'll figure it out. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
So
Yes.
anyways, when is the profile due?
Okay, the entire profile is not due for a while. So come on over here and I'll show you. These are the important dates. All right, so you did your open-ended questions last week. If you have not recorded the person that you're going to record, you need to do that this weekend.
Okay.
And then you write down what they said, and that's due on Monday. So that takes a long time, the recording and then the writing down what they said. So you need to do that soon. Then next week on Wednesday and Friday, you should have some recorded information and you're going to listen to it with a partner and you're going to review it. So they'll share with you what they recorded and you'll share with them what they recorded. And also, Bronson, do you have accommodations?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you need more time or if you're not sure like what's going on, you can have an extra week. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am. So get our partners started on our own time.
Yes. You get your partners